What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So what you saw was my piss poor attempt at doing a handstand after not doing any for about 4 months. So you can see that it's quite unstable, but yeah, I'm looking to get back more into it. Speaking of handstands, the stretches that we're covering today are great for opening up the lat muscles, especially when you're trying to improve on your handstand line. Now, if you're new to your handstand journey, what you may notice is you might be bananaing or overly arching in your back when you perform your handstand. This is a good indication that you are lacking in lat flexibility. So the stretches that we're covering today will do you justice when it comes to opening up the lats and improving on your handstand line. Now, if you caught my 5 movements video, the main stretch I focused to test out your lat flexibility was the snow angels against the wall. So I'm basically going to go over that quickly right now, and then we'll get more into these stretches. So to test out where your lat flexibility is, all you're going to do is place your back against the wall, and your focus here is to try and get your lower back to touch the wall without losing contact between the wall and the back of your hand. By doing this, if you notice any excessive arching in the lower back and you're struggling to get that lower back onto the wall, that's a good indication that you are lacking in lat flexibility. So this is what we want to focus today's stretches on. So one question we can go into is what creates that lack of flexibility in the lats? Now, if you've stayed up to date with all the videos I've been posting, you would know that the main reason for the tightness that we have in the lats is because of being sat on a chair. I've drilled it in so many times before in the past. I'm going to do it again one more time for the next video, and then I'll probably end it there. I won't talk about that again, hopefully. But yeah, it really is that position, unfortunately. So if you think about it, if you're sat 7 to 8 hours a day at a desk, most of us are unconsciously sat rounded. And that is one of the biggest contributions towards having that tightness around the lats. And the second one is probably not really utilizing the muscles sufficiently enough. Now, if you think about the general activities that we engage in on a day-to-day basis, you won't be able to pinpoint many activities that we do to create thoracic extension and to cause a straightening of the back. If you can consciously catch yourself out slumping or slouching your back, then it's a good way of reversing the effects of that tightness in the lats. When it comes to lat flexibility, it's not just the lat muscles that are quite tight, it's also the muscles around the shoulder blades going up into the delts and the neck muscles that can also contribute towards excessive tightness in the lats. So in this case, it's not just about focusing on one stretch that will help you to open up your lats. You'll have to do quite a few things just to kind of figure out where the majority of your tightness is, which is causing that kyphotic posture. All right, enough of that, let's get straight into these stretches. Stretch number 1 is the wall puppy dog. Now, if you've participated in any yoga classes, you'll probably know the regular puppy dog on the ground. This variation of the puppy dog is great for anyone that is a complete beginner. Plus, if you're quite advanced in doing the stretch as well, you'll also get some sort of benefit from the stretch as well. So to get into position, all we're going to do is place a box or a seat next to the wall. To start off, we want it to be about a foot away from the wall. You're going to sit down and you're going to be facing the wall. Place your hand on the wall, and then what you're going to do from here is slide your hands up the wall. Now, in terms of the positioning of your feet, I would say keep them about hip width apart, and then whilst you're going deeper into the stretch and you're sliding your hands upwards, then just feel free to widen your base and pull your feet apart a bit more. So we're thinking about trying to slide our chest onto the wall as we're sliding our hands up the wall as well. In terms of head positioning, I like to place my chin against the wall. Now, if that creates discomfort for you in your neck, feel free just to keep your chin tucked or your head neutral. Think about your breathing in this position as well. So inhale, and then when you exhale, think about trying to go deeper into the stretch if you feel as though that will be more beneficial for you. Once we get to a comfortable position for us, we're going to hang in there for about a minute, and then if you feel like you can go a little deeper, you just want to pull your knees apart a bit more, and also slide your bum further away from the wall, so you're moving your butt further away on the chair or the seat that you're sat on. The more you move your bottom away, the deeper the stretch is going to feel as you start sliding your fingers up the wall and your chest closer to the wall. So what you'll notice is you'll get a greater arching of the back. When we're in position, our focus is to try and press our lats into the wall. So think about trying to get your chest to the wall and pressing those lats into the wall. Now, to get out of position, we're going to reverse the entire movement. So we're going to start sliding those hands down nice and slowly. And then we're going to push our chin or our chest away from the wall and then press the wall away from you using your hands. Now, when it comes to movements that require us to arch our back or hyperextend our back, we want to perform the opposite movement, which is rounding the back or flexing the back as well. So to finish off this movement, all you're going to do is you're going to try and round your back as much as possible, either on the ground or you can do it on the seat that you're sat on. So all I'm doing here is I'm tucking my chin, I'm thinking about trying to slump that lower back down closer to the ground, and I'm just holding on to the side of the seat I'm sat on. Stretch number 2 is the butcher's block. Now for this stretch, all we're going to need is a box or something to elevate your elbows when you perform the stretch, and a very light dumbbell or a yoga block or something that will help you to perform this stretch. So to get into position, you're going to grab your dumbbell or your yoga block and you're going to hold it. So you're going to place that in between your palms, and then you're going to put your elbows down on the box, and then we're going to slide ourselves into a puppy dog stretch with our elbows on the blocks. So if you look at the butcher's block, it's pretty much an elevated version of the puppy dog stretch. In terms of positioning of that object that we're holding onto, you want to make sure that you're not resting that on your neck or on your shoulders. So we're keeping that object elevated. I like to keep the object a couple of inches above my head, but feel free just to play around with the positioning to figure out what works for you. So you might feel as though if you move the dumbbell further away from you, that will be more comfortable for you. From here, we're going to think about pushing our lats down towards the ground and keep the head neutral in between. So try and make sure that you're not holding any strain in the neck when you perform this movement. And the final thing we're going to do here is we're going to think about tucking our tail whilst we're in position. So currently we're in this position where we're arching in our back and we're thinking about sticking our bum out, so we're performing an anterior pelvic tilt. And then we're going to tuck our tail and perform a posterior pelvic tilt. So by doing this, that will give you a stronger stretch in the lats. And then again, we're going to try and pull our lats towards the ground. And then what you could also do is perform a cat-cow like movement whilst you're in position. So we're thinking about arching our back and shooting our bum out for a couple of seconds, and then rounding the back and tucking our tail for a couple of seconds too. What this will do is create more range in the shoulders and allow you to press those lats closer to the ground. Stretch number 3 is the back rounding stretch. So I've already covered this stretch in a previous video, so feel free to check that out on the link above me, and also I will leave it in the description too. With that variation, we're focusing the stretch on other parts of the body like the shoulder blades as well. Now if you do get the time, definitely do check out that video. But with this variation, I'm just going to go over the basic part of this stretch which allows us to open up the muscles in our lower back. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, we want to couple any sort of exercises that require us to arch our back with exercises that require us to round our back. So in this variation, that's all we're going to do. We're just going to sit back on our bottom, place our knees in front of us, and then you're going to interlock the arms underneath your knees. What I like to do is place the opposite hand on the opposite forearm just to make sure I'm secure in that position. And then what you're going to think about doing here is walking those heels back, and we're trying to slump our lower back closer to the ground. By walking those heels back, this will create a stronger stretch in your lower back muscles and going into your thoracic spine as well. But also feel free to tuck your chin as well, and that should also create a stretch in your neck muscles. Also, what you want to note with this stretch is to make sure that you're leaning backwards with your shoulders and you're not pulling your chest closer to your knees. And then that way we're really trying to round that back as much as possible. Now you can also perform a P&F contraction in this position as well, and you can also target each of the shoulder blades individually. But we're not going to cover that in this video, so if you do want to go into the details of that, feel free to check out that video I mentioned previously. And finally, the last stretches we want to go over are the rear and front delt stretches. So we'll do the rear delt stretch first of all, and then we'll go into the front delt stretch. So to get into position, you're going to grab the side of a wall. Now, if you've got access to some stall bars, feel free just to grab hold of a stall bar as well. So you're going to keep your feet about hip width apart or just slightly outside of hip width apart. And then we're going to think about trying to straighten that arm. And then you're going to try and twist your torso away from the wall. So you're trying to look over that shoulder that's extended. And then you're going to try and lean towards that shoulder a bit more. By doing this, this should invoke a stretch in the rear delt. Now try and go gentle with this stretch. We don't want to tear our delt or cause any sort of straining of the delt as well. So make sure you're performing this stretch very slowly. We can also perform a P&F contraction to go deeper into the stretch. So think about trying to pull the side of the wall towards you. Hold that for 5 seconds. Take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, try and twist your torso a bit more. Next, we're going to move on to the front delt stretch. So for this, we're going to bring our hand behind us, and then we're going to grip the side of the wall behind our back. And then again, you're going to move your feet away from the wall and position them about hip width apart or just slightly outside of hip width. Also, what I like to do here is bend that leg that's furthest away from the wall, and then we're just going to shift our weight towards that bent leg. By doing this is going to invoke a stretch in the front delt, and also if you just try and lean back slightly, you may invoke a stretch in the lat muscles too. So feel free just to move the positioning of your shoulder to invoke a stretch in different muscles. Again, feel free to perform that PNF contraction like we did in the previous one. So you're trying to pull that wall towards you. Take a deep breath in, and then when you exhale, try and shift the weight towards that bent leg. This should hopefully help you go deeper into the stretch. We're going to hold these two stretches for anything between a minute and a half, and then to get out of position, you're going to reverse the entire movement. So that's pretty much it for these stretches. Now, like I mentioned at the start of this video, make sure you are testing out your lat flexibility by performing those snow angels against the wall, making sure that your lower back is as close to the wall as possible and you're not taking the back of your hand away from the wall. Once you've done that, perform these stretches and then retest that same movement to see if you've gained any extra range whilst performing the stretches. Again, like I always mention in these videos, it's going to take a while before you see any significant gains in flexibility. So make sure you're staying consistent with these stretches and you're also tracking your progress too. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop them down below in the comment section. Hit that like button again, hit that subscribe button, and I shall see you in the next one.